Hello, and thank you for joining us here on the Neutral Zone. I am Phil Milani, joined as always by my trusty sidekick, my partner in crime. Really, the best way to describe this person is my everything. It's at Eric Dalala.
Phil, great to be with you 2 weeks in a row.
2 weeks in a row we've done this.
kind of odd given the circumstances, but
it's true.
Nice to get back in a rhythm here.
What are those circumstances?
Russell Wilson's on the Broncos.
That's true.
Still true.
Have you come down off your high a little bit?
Yeah, it's kind of sunk in a little bit.
Got it.
Back to earth. It's just kind of the lull before the draft.
Got it.
But these guys are going to be here very soon.
I was going to say, you probably came back down to earth, and then you saw him like throwing a bomb to Cortland Sutton, and then you just went out of control again.
Yeah, he's painting the end zone in his backyard. I mean, this guy thinks of everything.
He does. What a backyard, huh? Is that pretty, that's pretty nice?
I assume that's his backyard, right?
If everybody's seen the video, Russell Wilson got Cortland Sutton together, Tim Patrick, KJ Hamler was there, Andrew Beck was there, I believe. Sir Lloyd Cushenberry III was there.
Yeah. Albert O
was there. It was
some backup Qs.
Some backup
QBs.
Qs.
I think we say QBs now.
I think we say QBs again.
Yeah. Pour one out.
Oh, gosh. It's kind of sad, but yeah, because of course Drew Lock's at Qs.
Right, and he's
a quarterback for was it Seahawks?
Was it the Seahawks?
I think that's what
I think it was.
Yeah.
Interesting fact, he is wearing Paxton Lynch's number that Paxton wore in Seattle.
Well, he was doing a press conference, said, I didn't want to wear number 3 out of respect for Russell Wilson. He said that he knew some things about legacies, building a legacy. He said, you don't wear 18 in Indianapolis.
You thought that was a little bit of a shot.
I thought that was a shot because, of course, you don't wear 18 in Denver.
Well, I just chuckled. He said, I don't want people to think of Russell Wilson and Drew Lock if I wear 3. And in my head, I'm just like, that's quite the step to make.
He said you don't wear 12 in Green Bay.
Yeah, because of course that's the number Brett Favre wore.
And then he said, I don't want people to think of...
It was a joke.
Yeah, that's true.
Favre
is number 4.
Yeah.
But then he was like, yeah, I don't want people to think Russell Wilson and Drew Lock.
Right.
So he's going to wear number 2.
Yep.
Which, of course, Paxton Lynch famously wore in Seattle.
Infamously.
In the preseason.
When he tore the Broncos up.
He had a nice little game.
He did.
Yeah, he had a nice game.
It did not translate.
Man, what were we talking about?
I don't know.
Russell Wilson.
We got Russell Wilson
He's down in San Diego there throwing the ball around, and it looked like just a nice time.
What does Ron Burgundy say about what San Diego means?
I think he said that it got lost in translation over the years. Nobody really knows.
Nobody really knows.
Yeah, I think that's what he said.
Okay, maybe we'll go back and
you have to watch.
Go back and check.
Watch the movie.
Yeah.
But that looked like a nice little space that he had set up there.
Yeah, very nice. Nice to see those guys working. Of course, not a big deal, Phil.
Jerry Jeudy was not there.
No.
But I believe that Jerry Jeudy posted that he had a baby.
Did he post that?
He posted like an emoji of like a man holding a little baby.
And you decipher those.
I was either there's a large person holding Jerry Jeudy, or
baby.
It's Jerry Jeudy holding a baby, which
interesting.
That's what I thought.
There was some speculation that his mom was sick. He said that's not the case because there were some get well soon mom balloons. Yes. It's been it's a little bit of a
little investigation.
Yeah.
Some conspiracy theories.
Yeah, I feel like we're like the Hardy Boys. You ever read those?
Yeah.
Not a sponsor, but
you go on some deep message boards.
Yeah.
To find out what's going on.
What's going on with the emojis?
With the emojis, yeah. The way I interpret it is he had a baby.
Interesting.
I don't know that.
Probably not him.
Fact.
He probably didn't have it.
You're not allowed to say that, huh? I had a baby. Because, I had a baby 8 months ago.
Yeah.
And I was like, I had a baby.
And people are
I have a baby. But I didn't physically have a baby.
Right.
My wife did. But
yeah.
I didn't. I don't know. You got to walk.
But not a big deal.
Not a big deal
that he's not there.
Yeah, that's true.
Plenty of time during voluntary workouts, during training camp, preseason games. Got a lot of times. I mean, I don't know how long, if they were just there that one day, Phil, if they were there longer, but you're probably catching what, like maybe Cortland Sutton caught 20 passes from Russell Wilson.
It's more of just like bonding, building that chemistry a little bit, you know.
It's like we toss around the old pigskin out back sometimes.
We just go right out onto the practice field.
Yeah,
you know?
And I'm like, Phil, 20-yard out, go.
Yeah, and you're like, okay, give me an option route here.
And I'm like, go sit in the porta potty.
Yeah, settle.
Shut the door.
Do you want to win?
Yeah.
You know, that's what you say. Of course, Peyton Manning went to Duke with the guys.
Right.
Russell Wilson was like, why don't you just come over to my house in San Diego? I don't know, which one would you...
Well, I'm a North Carolina boy at heart, Phil, so...
So you don't like San Diego? Is that what
I'm not saying I don't like San Diego, but you go back to the East Coast, get some Cookout, not a sponsor.
You go
Get a Cheerwine, not a sponsor.
You go back down south.
Yeah, the South / East Coast. Yeah. But nice to see those guys out and about.
Yeah.
Get your kind of first glimpse of. Nice to see KJ Hamler doing a little bit of stuff.
That's true. He's working his way back.
I think he's a little underrated in terms of what he brought to the offense. Didn't catch a lot of passes, but in opening things up. Yeah. He runs fast.
Yeah, he does. Really fast. Eric, let's talk about what we're going to talk about on the show.
Okay.
Let's talk about what we're going to talk about. Not actually what we're...
Right.
We don't want to
I
talk.
get confused about this sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. A little bit of a preview, if you will. I would say that free agency is coming to a close here, little by little here. It's pretty much. Of course, the Broncos brought in K'Wan Williams. He signed on, was it Wednesday? I believe that he signed. But really, it's coming to a nice little landing spot here where it's coming to a conclusion. I want to know, what work do the Broncos still need to do? Maybe a couple of extra signings here, maybe focus on the draft. What areas of need remain?
Okay.
Makes you think a little, huh?
But you're not asking me now. You're just saying you'll ask me that later.
I'll be asking you later. And then also, Eric, speaking of running fast, a cheetah runs pretty fast. Tyreek Hill.
Gone. He ran away.
Gone.
He scurred.
I heard he ran all the way from Kansas City to Miami.
That'd be far.
Yeah, but he did it pretty fast.
Yeah.
It's far and fast.
You think he's scared?
He's no longer in the division. I think what happened was that he heard about Surtain working out, getting better and better.
Yeah.
And he was like, I don't want to.
Surtain again.
Yeah, Pat Surtain again.
Yeah, right.
He got nervous, I think, is what I heard.
Yeah.
So he was like, I got to get out of the division. That's what I heard. I don't know. Anyway, the division looks quite a bit different.
It does.
Than maybe a couple months ago.
I think, we'll get to it.
Certainly much different than the end of last year. This division, I'm wondering how you think it's stacking up. Who's the best team right now in the division? And what keeps you up at night? You know, that's what did something happen that you're like,
I can't sleep.
Can't sleep.
Yeah.
You got nightmares maybe.
What's the hypothetical baby that's crying that won't let me sleep?
Yeah, hypothetical.
Yeah.
Jerry Jeudy, maybe he's not sleeping too much these days.
The emojis are keeping him up?
Yeah, it's possible.
I haven't seen these emojis. Where was this? Twitter, Instagram?
Yeah, on Twitter, yeah. How do you his thing says that Jerry Jeudy and it has like a little 4?
Yeah.
How do you do that? How do you get that?
I don't even know what you're talking about.
Are you looking it up right now?
Yeah.
This is, of course, an audio.
We're on YouTube.
Medium,
People can see me.
If you're watching on
I see.
the Broncos YouTube page right now, you can
see me on my phone.
Him on his phone, not paying attention to me.
So yeah, he tweeted an emoji an emoji of someone holding a baby.
Yeah.
And then he also tweeted March 23rd, March 27.
So that could be like because he, of course, has a different kid.
Oh, you think the birthday of the other kid is March 27?
Well, it's possible.
Because March 27, of course, has not happened this year.
Yeah.
So maybe something that's happening in a few days.
Like he had a premonition?
Maybe.
Yeah, he saw the future, huh? That's just how I interpret it.
Okay. I think that's a good interpretation.
Like I was saying, if you could watch us on the Broncos official YouTube page.
That's right.
While you're there, just go ahead and smash the subscribe button.
Do it.
Or you could listen to us on, Apple Podcasts.
Spotify, TuneIn, Stitcher,
yeah.
Google Play,
We haven't really done that one in a while. Where
Google
where do
Play?
you where do you find the podcast?
Oh, yeah. We've just been getting right into it.
People sort of know where to find the podcast. Man.
Yeah. The
You know what I mean?
thousands, the
Wherever you
millions.
find the podcast, that's where we are.
Right.
Yeah.
That's true.
If you have a comment, though, like say you listen to the show and you're just like, these guys
Are so good.
so good. Their voice sounds so nice. Their haircuts are too good. Let us know about it. You can get in touch with us directly at Eric Delala with an A, at Phil Maloney with a PH. That's on Twitter.
That's right.
And those are
Non-traditional spellings.
non-traditional spellings.
That's right.
Of course, Phil is
Yeah. F-I-L-L
Yeah.
normally.
normally, yeah. How else can you get involved?
Well, you could leave an email at neutralzoneshow@gmail.com.
We'll read it.
We will.
Yeah.
John Jornad, he sent an email.
Andy Maines.
Andy Main sent an email. Jeff Flanagan, he was a little hurt.
What did he say?
Well, because we referenced our fan out in California.
Uh-huh.
Maybe he was at Russ's house.
He could have been at Russ's house.
And, of course,
I want to know who was filming that video.
We gave him a little bit of a hard time. You want to know?
Yeah, it could have been Flanagan.
Be good.
I want to know.
We, of course, gave Jeff a little bit of a hard time. Said, oh, who even is that guy? Because he hasn't sent us an email in a long time. And he said, guys, that hurt me.
No, well, I'm sorry.
Jeff, we're just kidding around.
We're just joking, of course.
But yeah, John Jordan, of course, he said, I took the little shot at him about being a Seahawks fan now.
And he thought that's something
He
I
said
would
something
have.
Phil would do. John,
I would never.
we're just kidding. We welcome you back to...
I would never. NZ Nation.
Is this back to being wide receiver heaven, like Emmanuel Sanders once said?
I think we got to just wait and see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe you can see the light.
Because when Emmanuel joined, that was right off of the greatest statistical season
Right.
a quarterback has ever had.
Of course.
I think that's why he said wide receiver heaven.
Yeah.
He, of course, agreed to terms with the Broncos while he was in Kansas City.
Good play.
That's
Tremendous.
Yeah,
I like that.
Yeah, me too.
Or you can leave a voicemail, Phil. 707 neutral.
Neutral.
We'll play it right here on the air. You don't have to talk to anybody, which is nice.
Straight to voicemail.
Straight to voicemail.
No Ben Swanson at all.
No. Brandon from Iowa.
Yeah. He loves voicemails.
How does Brandon start his?
Hey, fellas.
That's right.
Hey, guys.
Or we get a gentleman
Gentlemen, Tom Magnetti.
from Tom Magnetti.
Yeah, that's true.
They like to leave voicemails, but you don't have to talk to Ben Swanson. It just beeps. You leave your message.
Yeah.
We play it on the air.
I do have some sad news, maybe.
Uh-oh.
I'm not sure if AJ.
Oh, he's gone.
I believe that he may
AJ's
no longer be a
AJ's
part
gone.
of NZ.
AJ's blocked the neutral zone from.
Yeah. AJ will be now on like Fins Up or whatever.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I don't know what their podcast is called, but
Yeah, the Miami
Miami
Dolphins podcast network.
yeah,
Our friend of the podcast, Travis Wingfield,
yeah, he does theirs.
he does theirs.
Yeah, and he's going to be getting a lot of calls
A
from
lot of calls from AJ.
What's a Tua? Why is Tua playing?
He's probably pumped about the
Tyreek.
Dolphins loading up for Teddy.
Tyreek. They got Waddle. They got some speed.
It was interesting. Teddy was asked, have you been told you're going to be the backup?
You
He
don't wanna
said,
talk about
I don't want to get into that.
Ooh, what does it mean?
Whoa.
Broncos fans, do you think Broncos fans are going to be paying attention? Okay, I want to see what happens in Seattle. I want to see what happens in Miami.
I think more so in Seattle, just because Broncos drafted Drew Lock.
Yeah.
A lot of people still think that there's this potential there.
Yeah,
A lot of people do.
a lot of people.
Not everybody.
It'll be interesting to see what happens in Seattle. They could, of course, draft a quarterback too if they want
Yeah,
to.
they could trade for Baker Mayfield.
I think that the Seahawks, I think they have the 9th pick now.
They do.
How do they get that?
Russ.
Oh, that's right.
Should we get into this, Phil?
Okay, yeah, I think so. Now that we've got all the ways, now we can officially get into it.
Let's ride.
You want to let's ride, right?
Yeah, you like
Okay,
that?
Yeah, let's say that one more time.
Let's ride.
Beautiful. Okay, our first topic here, Eric. The first wave, I'd say the second wave of free agency. They've come.
It was kind of like a big wave and then like a second smaller, faster wave. Like it was right after that wave.
Yeah, exactly. Like if you were out in the ocean and you missed that first one,
You could get the second one right away.
you could get the second one, and then if you missed that one,
You're waiting.
you're just out there now.
But if you caught that first wave, you're
You're
weren't
back at shore.
you weren't getting back in time for that second wave because it came quick.
Yeah, exactly. It was all sort of. It was like 1.5
wave.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't really
It's
know
kind of
how
like
to
a
say it.
1.5.
Yeah.
Maybe? Yeah. It came by pretty quick. Anyway, Eric, the Broncos have brought in a lot of players. Of course, the notables, Randy Gregory, DJ Jones, made the trade for Russell Wilson. But then they've brought in some other pieces here, filling out this roster. There's going to be some competition going on. My question to you is, what work does George Payton and company have left to do?
Yeah, and let's not forget K'Wan Williams, because you did mention that. I think that's a big signing. To me, that could end up being
nickel cornerback. He's going to play a lot of football. He's going to be on the field a lot.
And he blitzes a lot. He forces a lot of fumbles. He's a guy that I think could really make an impact. So I wouldn't count him among like those secondary guys, even though he signed a little later. But yeah, I mean, what is left? I think you've still got to find at least one more guy to either compete at right tackle or to be that right tackle. Yep. You signed Tom Compton, who he's going to compete kind of at a bunch of different spots, it sounds like. Yeah. You signed Calvin Anderson to a 1-year deal. I think I'd be more comfortable with someone either with a lot of veteran experience, or in the draft, if you say, hey, one of these tackles is falling, we're going to take him with our second-round pick, and we're going to kind of view him as the future. That would make me more comfortable at right tackle. I don't think they're done there yet.
Got it. And, of course, maybe after the draft, maybe there's some guys who are still out there that you could say,
of course,
the draft went a certain way, now let's bring you in.
Of course.
So, the Broncos, right tackle, you think?
Yeah, the Broncos, of course, reportedly, Brandon Shell, I believe, reportedly had him in
our friend
for
Mike
a visit.
Kliss of the show was reporting that.
Yep.
A lot. He was reporting a lot.
Mike knows a good thing. You get a little nibble, Mike just he reels it in.
Yep.
So maybe he's an option. We'll have to see. So that's one that stands out to me. I do still think edge rusher remains – I don't know if it's like the biggest priority, but I think it's still a need just because Bradley Chubb's entering the final year of his contract. He has struggled to stay healthy at times. You don't know quite what you're going to get from Randy Gregory, even though those two guys are going to start.
Yeah.
But again, if there's a veteran guy and you're saying, hey, we're really going to go for this, and some of it is, does George Payton view this as like, hey, we got a really good chance to win it all this year, let's go all in, or does he view it as, hey, we got some time over the next 4 or 5 years, we got a big window here with Russ, let's just be a little bit pragmatic. Maybe you don't sign a top tier guy that's left, and you go in the third round and say, Mel Kiper from ESPN pointed out a Nick Bonito from Oklahoma. He's a guy that
George Stoya? Is that what you said?
Exactly. George Stoya said he's great.
Friend of the show.
Yeah. I actually texted George Stoya about this, and I said, how good is this guy? And he said, he's great. He's the best player on Oklahoma's defense.
And the best player in the draft, maybe. Also.
And I said, is the best player on a Big 12 defense, does that even mean anything?
Yeah. What did he say? He kind of got hurt.
He got grumpy. He stopped texting me back.
So edge rusher is probably an area because you got Jonathan Cooper there.
Yeah.
Not exactly sure if Malik Reed will be back or not as we're recording this.
Yeah.
So you do have – there's like a question mark there.
Question mark there. Inside linebacker, I think, is still, an interesting –
Re-signed Josie Jewell.
Yep. Signed Alex Singleton from the Eagles. There's some conflicting reports maybe about, is he going to compete for a starting job? Is he going to be a special teams guy and kind of like a depth player? Our friend Mike Kliss again reported Baron Browning might move to edge rusher, which maybe then you don't need an edge rusher and you need an inside backer. Yeah. I'm interested to see who ends up starting next to Josie Jewell.
Yeah. Of course, Baron Browning came on late last season.
Had a nice year.
Pretty well. But, of course, different coaching staff coming in, maybe they see people fitting in differently.
Well, and his athleticism was really clear. And so if you see a guy that, maybe in a nickel package he can play inside, but then you can bring him – George Payton talked about those waves of edge rushers.
Yeah.
Maybe you can use his athleticism as an outside guy. It'll be interesting to see. Vic Fangio kept him inside. Struggled a little bit, I think, when Justin Hollins was here. Similar type guy, inside-outside. They never really figured out what to do with him.
Yeah.
He then went to L.A. with Brandon Staley, where, of course, Ajiro Evero was there.
Who?
Ajiro Evero.
Evero, yeah.
Evero.
They call him Coach E.
Coach E. Let's just stick with that.
That's what they call him.
He went to L.A. They found a spot for him outside, and he's been a pretty decent depth rusher for them. So maybe Coach E says, hey, we're going to view kind of Baron Browning as a little bit of a more athletic Justin Hollins, put him out there on the edge, see what he can do.
Yeah, I think you could say that. I mean, he did play pretty well.
Yeah, no, of course he did.
Yeah. So maybe he's got some versatility that allows you to do
A
some
Micah
different things.
Parsons.
You said it. Having a guy like that, though, is quite the weapon, though.
Of course.
You know,
Yeah,
you
if you
just-
can move a guy around.
Yeah, you're a guy where you're like, where's Barron? Because I don't know what the heck's about to happen.
Yeah.
That's
Brandon, I think our friend Mike Kliss called him.
Mike. Oh, boy.
Mike struggles
Okay.
with the names.
So inside linebacker, I agree with you. Alexander Johnson is still out there. Kenny Young is still out there.
They did tender Jonas Griffith, who I think they're actually high on. He played pretty well there at inside backer. I'd be surprised if he starts, but certainly a good – you want to have 4 guys there, I think, 4 or 5, if depending on what you're doing with special teams, who you can really trust to play.
Yeah.
Because the Broncos got to a point last season, Phil. It was not good.
They ran out of guys.
Before they traded for Kenny Young and before Baron Browning came back, it was like, who is
Cupboard
this?
was bare.
The cupboard was bare.
Yeah.
People were getting dragged into the end zone by Case Keenum.
Yeah,
It was not good.
that was not good.
So-
Case Keenum.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
So I view those 3 spots: right tackle, inside linebacker, outside linebacker. It's kind of maybe the main
Big goals.
focus areas. But
Yeah.
there's other spots too, of
Backup
course.
running back, I was going to ask you.
Backup running back. I could see him drafting somebody. I mean, Melvin is still out there as we're recording this.
is.
He has
Might
not
be
signed with
a little
anybody.
Too expensive, I would say.
Well,
at
but
this
the
point.
longer you're out there,
That's
you
true.
just kind of wonder what
That's true.
maybe
What's going on?
I don't know. So maybe you draft somebody in a kind of day 3 guy that come in and be behind Javonte, because I do think there's something to the fact that you have Mike Boone, of course, who looked decent in that Kansas City
Yeah.
game,
Had a little bit of explosiveness.
and I always think about the money, Phil.
It all comes down to money.
Mike Kliss taught me that. He said you always follow the
Look
money.
to the money.
Look to the money. When the signing bonuses come out for undrafted free agents, Mike is dialed in on the money.
Yeah.
And I wonder, do you want to pay a running back more than your starter in Javonte Williams? That, to me, creates a little bit of
Tension, you think? Huh?
tension.
Oh.
I'm just interested to see what they do there. Of course, they address backup quarterback, I think, with Josh Johnson.
Yep.
Him or Brett Rippon, it seems like, will be the backup quarterback.
Yep.
They probably need another tight end.
Yeah, that was going to say.
I wonder if Trey McBride falls to the end of the second round. I wonder if that's – I don't think it's a big enough need to do that.
Yeah, that would be.
But he's a heck of a player.
Yeah.
I don't think it's enough of a need that I would spend that pick there. But
Yeah.
if
But
he's the
you
best
gotta go
player,
best available, yeah.
probably another corner, I think.
Okay.
Safety, you got to figure out, is J.R. Reed or Caden Stearns, are those guys going to start next to Justin Simmons? Do you want a veteran? Some of the time, Phil, you see training camp start, and then you see these veterans who haven't found a home yet, and they're like,
They don't really want to do training camp all the way.
Well, and they're like, oh, well, the Broncos are they're loading up. Like maybe that could be a good place.
Here with them?
Somebody gets hurt in training
So-
camp, you come in.
Kareem Jackson did tweet that he'd love to come back to Denver.
Of course.
Maybe there's a way that they can figure that out. Comes down to money. What's available?
I will say I'm not panicked about
No.
any of these spots.
Yeah, I don't think anything's like, oh my gosh, what are they going to do?
No.
But there's areas that maybe it's a little bit of a question, or it could just need a little bit of a boost.
Right. And when we talked about those positions, the reason I brought up right tackle, inside and outside backer, because those are where my questions are biggest.
Yeah,
They've addressed those spots, but I'm still like, well, who is going to block for Russ out there? Who is going to fill the middle of that defense? Who's going to rush Patrick Mahomes and Justin Herbert? Those are kind of the questions that I have, and so those are the 3 spots. I'd be surprised if the Broncos don't add at least one more tackle and at least one more edge rusher via the draft or some
sort of
avenue.
Yeah. I could see them going into the draft being like, okay, we've taken care of our – I think what the Broncos have done is they're flexible in the draft now,
Yeah.
I would say. They can do a McBride if he comes up, or they can address a lot of different areas in the draft. But I think then after the draft, maybe there's going to be some guys that they're going to go out and get.
Right. You can fill in with some CFAs if there's guys that you like. We tend to see an undrafted free agent here or there come in.
But there's some veterans, even like a Bobby Massey is still just.
Yeah, of course.
You could bring in and he could start for you right right tackle. So,
Right.
That's where you would say those three positions, and then we'll see. There's maybe some.
Yeah, and listen, it's not this is not a unique problem to the Broncos where you like still have after free agency some needs to fill.
Nobody's roster is just like 100% loaded from top to bottom.
I mean, you look at the Chiefs, for example, and we'll get to this, but like you look at wide receiver and you say,
Ooh.
there's some talent there, but they got a lot of questions there.
Yep. Yeah.
So,
I agree.
the Chargers
This
at
is
inside
not a
linebacker.
shot at anybody.
No.
But I think just generally there's some concern.
Yeah.
Not big concern, but some concern. Eric, let's move on to topic number 2 here now. We're talking about the rest of the AFC West. This thing is a little bit out of control, I would say. It's probably the best division in football, certainly in the last 20-plus years, I would say, is the AFC West now. But a departure of a major player on Wednesday, Tyreek Hill reportedly heading to Miami.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people that are saying, the Chiefs were smart to make this move. It's going to give the Chiefs flexibility in the future. Like they're going to have more cap space to put pieces around Mahomes. They're still getting rid of a really good football player, Phil.
A unique talent, I would say.
And it's not just that he's fast. It's not just that he's gets open. Like he has kind of like this impact on games where in a second you're just like, ugh. Like we held him for so long, and then they just make this one play, and so many times that's a Tyreek Hill from Patrick Mahomes. Of course, the peace sign has been flashed a ton, both here in Denver, in Kansas City.
I think George sent him a peace sign.
I think so.
Yeah, I think so.
I think this is going to really impact them. And listen, you can get all the draft picks you want. You still got to pick good players. And to find somebody like Clyde Edwards-Helaire, for example, they picked him in the first round. He's been fine, but he's not been
injury.
Yeah, he's had some injuries.
Yeah.
He's not been spectacular by any means. Damian Williams there was kind of the guy, even though he didn't have the pedigree of Edwards-Helaire. So listen, you can have picks, you can have cap space. You still got to go find the players, and I'm always a little hesitant to kind of give up a known guy that is really good. And listen, Phil, their core for a long time now has been Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, and Travis Kelce. And those are the three guys that kill you every time. And you've now taken that away. So if you're the Broncos, do you say, well, now we're just going to double Kelce and we're just going to see, hey, can Mecole Hardman, can he beat us?
Yeah. I'd say, like, when you think about facing the Chiefs, I think priority number 1 is don't let Tyreek Hill beat you.
Right.
And that's gone now.
Yeah.
And I would say when you look at Kansas City, the combination of Hill and Kelce worked so well together because Kelce was taking the lid off the defense, and Hill was taking the lid off, and Kelce was cleaning up underneath. So the whole thing just was working really nicely together. And so now they don't have that anymore. It's going to be a little bit easier to defend, I would say, without having that deep threat. And there are plenty of fast guys in the NFL. KJ Hamler is really fast. There's fast guys everywhere. None of them are quite like Tyreek, though.
No.
And Andy Reid always did a great job of finding ways for him to get open. And they have a creative offense where some misdirection stuff, and boom, all of a sudden one of these guys is wide open. They don't have that right now. And the last thing I'll say about it, Eric, is a move like this makes me wonder where the Chiefs are right now, because teams that are like going for another Super Bowl run here tend to not say goodbye to players like Tyreek Hill.
Yeah. Well, I mean, they think with Patrick Mahomes, their window is huge, and like they think even without Tyreek, we'll be in the playoffs. We'll have a chance. We'll see what happens. It is interesting because for as good as the Chiefs have been in this division, and they've dominated it, Phil, for the last 6 years, they've won 1 Super Bowl.
Yeah.
And they've been to 2, but you let go of a guy like Tyreek, and all of a sudden you could look up, who knows what happens, but this division is much more competitive now. You could look up in a few years and be like, wow, for as good as Patrick Mahomes is, for as good as the Chiefs were, they had 1 Super Bowl in this, it's been 5 years since Mahomes got there?
Yep.
You look up and you say, well, for a Broncos fan, the longer you go where they only have 1, the better. And this year doesn't help them get closer to that. You talk about Tyreek. He's not just fast. He's built.
Yeah.
He has a lot of experience in that offense. He didn't miss much time at all with injuries.
Yeah.
He's available. I mean, this is I'm really interested to see how their offense changes because, they don't win that Super Bowl without Tyreek running wasp on 3rd and 15 or whatever it was.
What was it, 2 years ago? He had like 100-plus yards, 3 touchdowns in the first quarter of a game. I mean,
and Travis Kelce, I think he's 32. He's getting up there.
Starting to get a little older.
I mean, of course, Patrick Mahomes is really good, but we're about to find out, I think, over the next couple of years, what is he like without – because do you think Tyreek Hill's a Hall of Famer?
Maybe not at this point.
Not at this point. Travis Kelce is definitely a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, Travis Kelce is.
And so you're going to look at Patrick Mahomes and say, okay, well, without your 2 most dynamic threats, what can you do when the pieces around you aren't as good? And this is what happens when you pay your quarterback that much.
Yeah, like that's another thing we were going to talk about. It's just like, gosh, you always wondered, okay, when is the system of the NFL going to catch up to the Chiefs? And for so long, they were able to find ways to keep some of these defensive guys, just to make them happy. And you add these pieces, and you're like, gosh, how are the Chiefs doing this? They load up on the O-line, and you're like, how do they do that?
Right.
But now it's like, oh, they come back to reality a little bit. We'll find out just how good Patrick Mahomes is. I wouldn't say like, oh, they're done now.
No.
But it is an interesting move if you feel like you're going for the Super Bowl. You don't normally say goodbye to a player like Tyreek Hill, but we'll find out now.
And, they got rid of Tyrann Mathieu, which I think they added Justin Reed from the Texans, but Tyrann Mathieu is a special player too.
Good.
He has that same sort of impact on a game where you're like, I got to know where Tyrann Mathieu is. He makes plays, a super competitive guy, had the Broncos number for a long time. He still hasn't signed anywhere, so it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Oh, Denver, you think?
It could be interesting.
Gosh, wow.
He would be a guy I would love to have on this team.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good player. But I looked at that and I was like, okay, well, I still think the Chiefs are the team to beat in the AFC West.
Yeah.
Without Tyreek, I don't know that I don't know. They could still obviously win the division, but I don't think there's a gap anymore between them and the Broncos and the Chargers.
Certainly not the way it was where you were just like, how do you stop this team? Now it's a little bit clearer.
Like, I think if you told me, like, hey, the Chiefs are going to finish 10-7 and be third in the division,
you could believe that.
I'd buy it.
Yeah.
I'd buy it.
Yeah. And I think that speaks to how good the division is.
Yeah, of course.
I think probably the biggest move was Russell Wilson coming to the Broncos, but
most definitely
right behind that is the trade that the Raiders made for Devontae Adams.
Yeah, and that gives them a big-time player in addition to – I mean, they might have the best receiving core in the division.
They've got the best offensive weapons, I'd probably say.
Because you've got Hunter Renfrow in the slot, who is incredible. Darren Waller, who's really good at tight end. Had a little bit of a down year, I guess, last year, but still – because he missed a lot of games.
Yeah.
But still a really good, really incredible player. And Derek Carr can get those guys the ball fast, doesn't throw a lot of interceptions. They're going to be good on offense. Josh Jacobs, depending on what he kind of does.
If he's healthy.
Of course, he ran over the Broncos, but otherwise didn't have a great season. But, yeah, they're really good on offense. I mean, everyone's talked about, like, hey, the AFC West is really good now.
Yeah.
The AFC West was pretty good last year, too.
Yeah, but they're even better now.
It's only better because the Broncos added Russell Wilson, and now all 4 teams are really competitive. Like the Raiders, of course, made the playoffs and pushed the Bengals at home.
Yes.
The Chargers
almost made the playoffs.
They had some games where you're just like they lost to Houston.
Yeah.
I think they got blown out by Houston. You're like, what are you doing?
Yeah. But they went to Cincinnati and blew out the Bengals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, of course, I don't know how much Khalil Mack has left in the tank, but they added him. That's a really good edge rushing duo. Sebastian Joseph Day on their defensive line is an underrated pickup. They had J.C. Jackson to play in the slot. Derwin James, of course, has struggled to stay healthy, but when he's healthy, he's as good as anybody.
Yep.
That's going to be a good team. And they're kind of – last year the defense was really not good, which is surprising given that Brandon Staley is supposed to be this defensive-minded head coach.
Yep.
He's now got some more pieces in place where you'd expect them to be better. So, I mean – it's interesting because if I look at just rosters, top to bottom, you might say the Chargers have the best roster overall.
Okay, let's go through it. Who's got the best team on paper right now in the AFC West?
So it's 2 different questions for me because I think there's a roster with the quarterback and then there's like roster without the quarterback.
Let's do with the quarterback. Just
So
looking
with
at
the-
the team.
I think the Broncos
You think
are
they've got
right.
the best team?
Have the best team overall when you consider the caliber of the quarterback this year. Because I would take going into this year, I'd rather have Russell Wilson than Justin Herbert.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Russell Wilson has proven it. He's been to the playoffs. He's played in
Super
these
Bowl.
big games. He has a lot of game-winning drives. Herbert just had some games last year where you're like, this should not be happening
Yeah.
when you have this caliber of quarterback.
I would say one of the differences that, and I don't know this to be a fact, but it seems like Russell Wilson is more of that demands excellence from everybody, and he's going to make like this whole building operate differently.
Yeah.
Justin Herbert, from like what you can tell from the outside, seems to be more of like a relaxed kind of dude.
And they love
You
him,
know,
of
and-
course. Like,
Yeah, I'm not saying one is way better than the other. I'm just saying that's a difference between them. I think they have different personalities.
Right.
It appears like Justin Herbert seems to be more of that relaxed, like he's just going to go out there and ball.
right.
Russell Wilson seems to be more of from that Peyton Manning type of cloth.
Yes, I absolutely agree.
Justin Herbert may be cut from more of that like John Elway type of cloth, where like the physical skills are so dominant that you can kind of just go out there and play at a really high level.
And I don't know that you look at
Holy smokes! Did
gosh.
you turn the lights off? There?
there's a
Did
night
it?
that the lights
I don't
went
think I
out
like
in
that answer.
Georgia.
Okay, we're back.
I don't know if you look at the Broncos roster and you say they're the best at like wide receiver, or they're the best on the offensive line, or they're the best at like corner or something like that. They might be the best at corner, but in general, I don't know if you look at like individual spots, but because I think you could say like the Raiders could have the best pass rushers with Chandler Jones and Max
Yeah,
Crosby.
we didn't even talk about Chandler.
Yeah, or you could look at like the Raiders and say they're receivers, or you could look at the Chargers and say, you know, they're safeties or something like that. But I think the Broncos are like
Overall.
second in enough of those categories
Got it.
that overall, like the depth across the roster
Got it.
is really good, and then they have enough star players in terms of like a Simmons, a Surtain, a Javonte Williams.
Yeah.
You'd hope a Sutton or a Judy is like that this year.
Yep.
That they kind of meet that over, like as a group, they meet it. They might not, if you went through and you gave 1 point for each win in a position group, they might not win. But if you did like the 3 points for first place, 2 points for second place, I think they'd be probably right there. And the other
Add it all up, you got the Broncos.
I think the Broncos, because of Russ over Justin Herbert. I think the Chargers are second.
Okay.
I'll say the Chiefs are third because of Patrick Mahomes. Like, if you put Patrick Mahomes on the Raiders with the rest of the roster they have,
Yeah.
oof, watch out.
Yes.
Watch out.
And so you've got the Raiders last in the division.
Yeah, even though that they've made a lot of upgrades, but still, I just think it comes down to quarterback play. And it's no offense to Derek Carr because he's still probably a top 12 quarterback, something like that. But he's just a little bit off from that caliber of the rest of those guys. And the other reason I picked the Broncos is we've never seen Cortland Sutton have this type of quarterback. We've never seen Jerry Jeudy or Alberto or Javonte Williams have this type of quarterback.
Like they've been good without that.
Like Cortland Sutton made a Pro Bowl in 2019 with Brandon Allen and Joe Flacco and Drew Lock throwing the ball.
Yeah.
A young Drew Lock making his first starts of his career.
Yeah.
If you think, hey, now I have a Pro Bowl level quarterback, that was always like the thing in Indy, right? Are Marvin Harrison and Reggie Wayne Hall of Famers because they played with Peyton? How good are Demaryius Thomas and Emmanuel Sanders because they played with Peyton? These guys are now going to get the chance to play with somebody who elevates their game.
Yeah.
And I think you could easily look back at the end of this year and be like, wow, the Broncos got Cortland Sutton on a really good deal. He looks like a top 10, top 15 receiver. And so that's why it's hard to compare like Keenan Allen with Justin Herbert to what Cortland Sutton did last year with Teddy and Drew.
Yeah. So, okay, so you got Broncos 1, Chargers 2, Chiefs 3, Raiders 4.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is you've got to have that elite quarterback just to be in the conversation.
Yeah.
You know, and I would say that in the AFC West, I agree with you. Derek Carr is probably fourth,
And he's still a really good player.
yeah, and he might have the best weapons. So that's what makes it very sort of
Right. And you could convince me that the Chiefs are still one. You could convince me the Chargers are one, that the Raiders are one.
Yeah. I think with Tyreek Hill, the Chiefs are probably one.
Yeah.
Still. Without Tyreek Hill, though, they drop.
It's just a lot of questions. And that's how close. I mean, you could convince me that any of these teams is going to win this division.
Yeah.
You could convince me that, they're all going to. I put out a little poll. What is a division record that would feel like a success?
Yeah, we've talked about
a lot of people said 4-2. I think even getting to 3-3 in this division. If you're 3-3, then you've got to go 8-3 the rest of the way to get to like 11-6.
Yeah.
And you're playing teams like the Jets, the Panthers.
Yeah.
The Colts will be harder now, but you get those guys and the Cardinals at home.
It seems like everybody is coming to the AFC.
It does seem like that.
That's probably why Tom Brady returned. He's like,
this is easy.
Nobody's in the NFC.
It's like the Bucks, Rams, and Packers, and it's like nobody else.
That's it.
Those are the only 3 teams in the NFC.
Do you think the AFC could borrow some of the playoff spots and just bring them over to that?
Could be smart.
That would be.
It's kind of like the Eastern Conference, Western Conference in basketball.
Yeah, the West is so good.
Yeah. It used to be even more pronounced than it is now, I feel like.
Yeah. I sort of have the ranking the same as you there, Eric. I think that the exciting thing about the Broncos is you've never seen it come together. And I would just say on paper, it seems like it's going to be really good. And it might take a little while to get rolling, but if it does get rolling, I think that they probably have the best team.
And the Broncos will be best off, I think, if a lot of these division games come late in the year.
Yeah, once they've got that chemistry and everything rolling.
But, who knows? Maybe like playing the Chiefs week 2 when they still don't know what they're doing without Tyreek.
Yeah,
maybe that's good. So the Chargers scare me because they're really talented and they have a great quarterback.
Yeah.
But part of me is just like, until you show me that you can do it,
yeah,
I'm a little bit skeptical.
Yeah.
Because the Chargers always seem to find a way.
They kind of charger it.
Yeah, and I just don't understand why. Because it's different coaches, it's different players, it's different GMs.
Are you saying there's maybe like a curse?
I don't know, man.
Yeah. And like I would say, the Staley effect there makes you always sort of be like, what's going to happen?
Yeah.
We don't really know what Hackett's going to be like.
No.
So that I think there's more unknowns with the Broncos. And if that made you concerned, I would probably say the Raiders. They're probably the most known of this.
Well, but you don't know what Josh McDaniels is going to do.
I guess that's true. Yeah, that's crazy.
This is going to be a really fun division
Yeah.
to watch.
Yeah.
And you could get, we'll see what happens with some of these defenses because they're really good, but I think you're going to see a lot of games that are like 35-31 in this division.
Yeah.
Just people lighting up the scoreboard.
The pass rushes.
Do you think the Chiefs could finish last in this division?
It's possible. It's possible.
I think the Raiders are going to be good.
Yeah, but you just put them in last.
I know, but I think they're
You're
still.
hedging
I think they're
them.
still
Now
going to
you're
be good.
Those Raider fans are going to come after
What
us.
do you think? 3 AFC West teams in the playoffs, or do you think
It does
just
seem
because
like it. No.
just because they're going to beat each other up so much that maybe?
No, I think they're going to beat other teams. But I will say the rest of the conference is just so good. I mean, even the Colts adding Matt Ryan.
Yeah.
I'm like, they're going to be right in the mix.
I mean, they're probably the division favorite now.
There are a few teams that are just like, that team's not going to be good.
Right.
And that's it. There's maybe like 3 of those teams.
I mean, like Baltimore, Lamar Jackson, if he's back healthy, they're hard to beat.
We have the Steelers are always consistently like good.
Yeah, I mean, they're going to win
Trubisky
8
makes
games
you
at
wonder.
least. Yeah, but
they're always just like good.
Who knows if Deshaun Watson is going to play?
Yeah.
But the Browns, you would think, would be good. The Bengals, of course, just went to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and the Browns were in the AFC Championship with Baker 2 years ago.
Yeah.
So, like, they've got the rest of the roster.
The Bills are probably the best team in the AFC.
Yeah.
The Dolphins just got Tyreek, of course, added Taron Armstead.
Zach Wilson is a year older.
It's Trevor Lawrence. Maybe Doug Peterson has something click with him. Yeah. It's going to be really fun, and there's going to be a lot of really good teams because let's, like, put away the Jets and the Jags, but, like,
Texans.
All 4 of the AFC West teams, the Bengals, the Browns, the Ravens, the Colts and Titans, like that's 9 teams there that I think have, the Bills, that's 10 teams.
Yeah, they're really good teams. The
3 of those
are always going to be good.
3 of those
Steelers
teams, but you're going to have like 3 or 4 teams that probably would be playoff teams in the NFC that are not going to make it.
Yeah. All you got to do is get in and then see what happens. You know?
Yeah.
Like I think.
But
that's
hey, it would be great to, and I don't need this to happen this year. You just hope it happens during the Russ era. To host a playoff game again would just be tremendous.
I would actually even like to go on the road for one, just because I've never covered a road playoff game.
I've never covered a playoff game.
Yeah, I wonder what the road is like.
Yeah.
I've only been like 1 or 2 seeds.
Yeah. Kind of boring.
Yeah. I think that, like, say for the Bengals, like they just got in last year and they made a run all the way. So like.
Yeah,
of
course.
You just got to get in and then you see what happens.
You have that elite quarterback. Anything is really possible.
All right, Eric, I think it's time for shout-outs.
Yeah.
You have any?
I don't know.
I was going to give a shout-out to Kay Schuster.
Yeah.
Liz Gerald's, what would you say, everything? I don't know if I would say
I don't know.
I'm not sure if I would say that. But in the community department, put together a nice DEI career huddle.
Yep.
Diversity, equity, and inclusion, and just had a nice chat with some younger people looking to break into the sports industry. Hosted some panels, and it was a good conversation as you welcome in the next generation of sports professionals.
Definitely. Yeah.
So, shout out Katie Schuster.
You, of course, moderated one of the panels.
I did.
So shout out to you.
Yeah, the hair was looking pretty good.
Yeah, it was nice.
The suit was a little baggy.
Oh, that's good. That's good. No, that's good.
No, I need to get that correct. Yeah. Sometimes you go back, you review the tape. That's how you get better.
Right.
Yeah. And that was
the part was a little offline.
Yeah. So you got to get the notes.
Right.
And then you get back, and then you get better.
Yeah.
Ridiculed, really, in the film room.
That's true. Just lambasted.
Yeah. Any other shout-outs?
I'm excited, Phil, for the coming weeks. The players will be back in the building here soon enough. We're probably, based on last year, probably about a month or so away from a schedule being released. Maybe a little more than a month.
You love the schedule.
Yeah, I do.
We're going to the annual league meeting next
We are. Maybe we'll record a nice little podcast down there.
I think so. I think maybe you'll hear the sound of some crashing waves.
Yeah.
They're going to be in West Palm Beach in Florida.
Maybe a little.
Oh, what is that opening?
I don't know. Whatever your heart desires.
Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Huh? Use your imagination.
Yeah.
Should be nice.
Can you hear the gulls on the coast?
Yeah. And there'll be some interesting topics. Certainly the competition committee will review what's going to happen with the overtime rules.
Yep.
I think that is going to be a hot button topic.
That one, of course. We'll hear from Nathaniel Hackett, George Payton.
Yes, we will.
I'm excited.
Really haven't had a chance to sit down with them and dissect where they feel like the team is at right now. So this will be our chance to just really.
One question I'm really interested in, Phil, is when Nathaniel Hackett interviewed with the Broncos, did he get a sense that George had this plan?
Ooh.
Like, he might not have known Wilson, but could you tell that they weren't rolling with?
They were going to go for it.
They were going for it.
Yeah.
I'm interested to know if he had that sense.
Yeah. I do think that there's this general notion that George is always a couple steps ahead. How true is that? Or some of these things, you're like, hopefully this works out, and if not, you got to adjust, because you hear stories about how the deal came together. Certainly a lot of conversations in Mobile where you are with George Payton, and then
I kind of brokered those conversations.
Yeah. Were you named, or were you sort of mystery?
Yeah.
They're like, we can't watch this.
They were like an anonymous source with perfect hair.
Yeah. He only was in quarter zips.
Yeah, exactly.
Hard to do the quarter zip down in Florida.
Little toasty.
It might be a little too much.
Yeah.
We'll have to see.
I'm going to bring one. We'll see what happens.
Of course, just in case.
Yeah.
Yeah. You going to hit the golf course?
Oh, I don't know if we'll have time. You always bring the clubs just in case.
Just in case, yeah. Smart. It's a good move. So, yeah, we'll be coming to you from West Palm Beach next week. Hopefully have some good little tidbits. We'll sit down with Nathaniel Hackett and George Payton and have some we're just gonna hammer them.
Yeah, we are.
You know how we do it.
Yeah.
In the neutral zone.
And
we don't have any fear.
No fear.
Tom Magnetti.
Right.
No fear. And you never give up.
Of
what
course.
Did he say?
I don't remember.
You just keep going.
Yeah, I always deliver. I think is
Always
what he says.
delivered. That's
Yeah.
true. You're the
paper
boy.
boy. Yeah.
That's true. All right. Well, that is going to do it for this episode. For Eric Dalala, I'm Phil Milani. You've been listening to
The Neutral Zone.